Welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you for joining us on another episode of today's Electrical Estimating. I'm your co-host, Chris Trommer, and as always, I'm joined by my other co-host, Sal Huerta.
Hello, everyone.
So, Sal, Sharolyn is actually back with us today, and she has 40 plus years of experience in this estimating space in different roles and different positions and different companies. And she's really going to give us a breakdown of that knowledge and talk to us about how things have changed over decades from back in the 80s, 90s with paper and pencil and bidding rooms up to where we are now, how that technology has played in a role in shaping our current space. Now, you, sir, have over 40 years of experience as well, and most of them in that sort of niche area of the pricing services. What have you seen change over time as technology has grown and been implemented in this space?
Yeah, what technology has done is actually fill the gaps, I guess is the easiest way for me to put it. There are a lot of labor-intensive scenarios back in the beginning when everything was paper and pencil. And as you mentioned, paper catalogs. There was a lot of manual stuff that needed to be done, and technology bridged that gap for people. It allowed them to take it from a manual process into a computerized environment that made things easier for them. Now, granted, not all technologies are great. I mean, I fallen prey to that. I mean, how many people remember 3D TVs? I still have one. So not all technology fits what scenario people need. In this particular case, estimating software needed to grow. They made some things that did work and didn't work, but they've evolved to a point today where they've very much helped the industry move things along faster. And Sharolyn is going to be a great person talking about all this.
Now, I got to ask, it's one of those things that everybody's talking about, obviously AI. It seems like from the past that these estimating rooms used to have dozens of people. And as you just alluded to, as technology has been introduced, it's made it taken away a lot of those more remedial tasks that perhaps humans have been doing. And it seems like this next wave of technology coming through with AI, I think some people are worried that would then go the next step and start taking some additional roles away from people that are maybe doing the takeoffs or this or that, where it's now going to continue to decrease how many estimators were needed in a room because AI is going to be able to take some of the work that they had been doing off their plate.
Will newer technologies affect workload, people? The answer is yes, but not in the sense that you would think. I mean, if you think of, again, you're talking about the old bid board rooms. In those days, you had phone banks, actual literal phone banks. People had to walk up to, put in a quarter and then make a call. Obviously, cell phones changed that environment. So whoever was the actual physical telephone technician obviously wasn't needed anymore. But the phones and the cell phones that came out afterwards created a whole different workforce of people that they never thought of before. And so that's what AI is going to do as well for the construction industry, is that, yes, some jobs and roles will change or maybe even go away, but it's going to create a whole different group of jobs and a whole different group of things that are going to be needed to move forward with the advances in technology.
All right. Well put, sir. As always, great speaking to you. We'll let these people get into this episode with Sharolyn. I'll catch up with you next week. Have a great rest of your day. Sharolyn, can you give us a brief rundown of your experience in this estimating environment, sort of what you've seen over the years?
I've been in the industry also about 40 years as well, and I've seen the industry change. Of course, technology is driving everything now. When I first started in the industry for estimating, there were plan rooms. People would have to go into the plan room to do their takeoffs, but now the drawings come right to them over the internet. So technology has just definitely changed the game when it comes to estimating and software.
Now, so you mentioned something like that, similar to me, that you'd seen back in the day with the computers when they first came out, having separate rooms of their own. Have you run into something similar to that?
No, absolutely. And Sharolyn's spot on with that. If she can remember the old days when you used big floppy disks to put into a computer to get information out, or like you said, whole office buildings almost the size to keep the memory banks cool. So, I mean, it was a big difference in what things are today.
Well, Sherlyn, you mentioned the biggest change that you've seen has been technology.
Mhm.
Is that the only change, or has there been sort of fundamental changes over the years in how estimating is done, or is it primarily the technology is changing the way that
It
estimators go about
it
their job?
is all it's all technology, I believe. And I'll give you an example. When I first started, I would go to bid openings when they would read the who had the lowest bid and so forth. And at that time, there were phone booths out there. Contractors would actually send employees to hog the phone so that no one else could get their calls in because they were still trying to finalize their prices. So again, with the technology of the cell phone, that kind of cuts some of that piece out of it. So a lot of it, I think everything kind of goes back to technology.
How has technology really affected the contractor currently, and how are they trying to stay competitive? Like you said, it's changed so much, so dramatically from what they were doing in the past. Is it really making it more effective what they're doing now with the technology? Is it making the job easier for them?
I think it's making the job easier, and I think it's allowing for much more productivity in the amount of jobs that they are able to estimate and how quickly they can get prices, such as with pricing services and so forth. So there was a time you had to just wait for that price to come from your supplier. So a lot of things like that, the pricing comes a lot quicker. The jobs actually move a lot quicker just with the technology that's out on the job site that we
Mhm.
don't think about from an estimating standpoint, rather. Also, the estimators are tasked with so many estimates to get out in a short amount of time. As soon as that estimate is out, they're right on to the next estimate, on the next job, rather, trying to produce another estimate. So it's about numbers now when we really see it in technology.
Is there any current technology that contractors should be utilizing or estimators should be utilizing as you see, or like their top three, you know,
I see definitely a computerized estimating software. To see someone estimating now manually is almost unheard of. And the technology was definitely needed in that space. There was a time when they shut down the office on bid day and everybody in there had calculators running numbers. You cannot put that type of resource into a bid now because that resource is needed to be somewhere else within that office. That would be what I think, again, is just an estimating software. And an estimating software can kind of mimic what they're doing manually now, what they were doing manually, rather.
I just got to ask, are there still people out there that are doing, estimates and bids manually, do you think?
Yes, they are still out there. They are still out there. They maybe were in a space that it worked for them at that time, but in order for them to grow, they have to move away from the pen and paper and move electronically. I see that quite often, believe it or not, that there are contractors out there still in the manual space doing things.
Do you think that the follow-up question to what Chris says, do you think this is generational, meaning that someone's been doing this for a long, long time, and that's just how they know how to do it, and that the younger people, because of being more computer savvy, do it that way? Or do you think there's something else?
I think it is a factor of the age. I've been doing this all the time, and some folk are in that age group. They are kind of afraid of technology, and so they won't. And so it takes that younger person in some cases, or the son or daughter, to come into the office and move things along. A lot of it is just, it's been working for me. I'm not really interested in expanding the business anymore so that I will continue to do those takeoffs. But the sad part is that they're doing those takeoffs at times that they should be spending with their families. They're up late, 11 o'clock at night, doing takeoff, repair a bid in time that should be allowing for family time.
You remember the times back in the old days when they would print out the estimate on the green bar paper,
Mhm.
and then an older guy would just grab the whole print and say, "Oh, I by weight I can tell you what this job's going to be."
Exactly. Exactly. I remember that. They would hold a drawing in two hands and come up with a number. And those usually were pretty close.